Hey, I think we're live. Want to really thank everybody for joining today. This is going to be our second partner spotlight. So in January, SIPPIO launched our partner exchange, and this is meant to make it easier for customers to find exactly the right partner that can serve them based off of where they are, what they particularly need from a specialization perspective, what type of industry expertise they're looking for, and even more, what products they can look for support. And every month we're going to be spotlighting one of our great partners in the partner exchange. And this month, I'm proud to introduce our friends at Cloud Revolution. Cloud Revolution is one of our strategic partners. They're based out in Denver, Colorado, and they're one of Microsoft's top integrators overall. So I'm really excited to have a discussion with the co-founders Adam Ball and Chad McGreanor today to talk a little bit about the business that they've built, where they're going, and where they see the market trying to kind of trend towards. So Adam, Chad, thanks for joining. Why don't you just introduce yourselves a little bit before we get going?
Sure, yeah, I'll kick it off, and then Adam, if you want to jump in. My name is Chad McGreanor, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cloud Revolution. Been in the UC space for over 20 years, been through all sorts of different iterations of technology from the early 2000s all the way through here we are here in in the Teams and UC as a service space, and all things AI, of course. I have to throw that in there to see how many times we can say it during this conversation. And
Copilot.
yeah, Copilot, there you go. I'm based in the Nashville, Tennessee area, so I'm looking forward to a nice little chat today and telling you a little bit more about Cloud Revolution.
Awesome. Adam?
Yeah, I'm Adam Ball. I am actually the person who's based in Colorado, so from that standpoint. But I will say this: Cloud Revolution, it's really neat just because we fully embrace the cloud. So we're a full remote company. So we have people all the way from the Carolinas all the way to California, and a few folks up in Canada, which is just awesome to see from that perspective. But like Chad, have been just doing the UC space for a long time at this point. Steve, you and I were joking about this right before we got on the show of we were talking about some Link stuff, and I had somebody tell me yesterday that when Link came out, they were in 6th grade, and that just felt surreal. I'll use that term as far as it goes, but been doing this since back in the LCS, OCS days, and it's amazing to see where unified communications, converged communications has gotten to, and really what the future holds. I mean, Chad, you just said it with AI and the Copilot, and hopefully Microsoft will drop us a referral for every time we say that word. But nonetheless, it's neat to see where things are going with that.
Every time Copilot is said, an Azure credit gets its wings, right? To paraphrase the movie.
Exactly.
So how did you guys meet? Let's talk a little bit about, what led to, Cloud Revolution. How did you guys meet? What made you guys take the step to become entrepreneurs and, launch your own business? And what have you seen as the positives and potentially some of the areas of opportunity or challenges you might not have foresaw as you went off on that journey?
I think we're going to rewind to that 6th grade time frame. Right?
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I always say, here's the short version of the really long story, but Adam and I met back at a company called Extra Team, which was a startup, company focused on Microsoft and Cisco and a few other network products at the time in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we met there. That's when all of the MVPs were sort of congregating at different systems integrators, and so Extra Team was one of those hideouts back in the days of Unify Square and some of the others that were out there at the time. And so we met at Extra Team, and I was at that point probably transitioning into the managed services component. And Adam and I actually met at one of the customers out in the Bay Area. I think you flew out. I think that's the day you had a cracked windshield or something. Yeah, I remember that story. You were driving a rental car and ended up
the windshield got cracked. It's the only time I've ever had a incident in a rental car, thankfully, that I had to claim on insurance.
So we met there, and then here's the shorter version of the long story. We shortly after that, I guess the time at Extra Team was pretty short. Now that I think about it,
a couple of years.
Yeah. We were, some of the inside scoop, we were a group of the the management folks were summoned to do a golf course in Pleasanton one day for a planning meeting, is what it was called. And then, if Mark McGregor is watching this, I think he gave it away when he walked in a suit. And in the Bay Area, you just don't wear suits, especially to any of the meetings. And so something was off then. And then we saw a bunch of other people in the office that were wearing suits that we didn't know. And we thought this is going to be a really interesting planning meeting. It turned out not to be a planning meeting. We were being acquired by SPS. So from there, we were acquired by SPS. Adam and I moved along over to SPS. They had a Microsoft practice that we ultimately took over. The extra team, group took over there. They, at the time, was focused on Nortel and Avaya. Spent a few years there learning how to work in a big company with, a lot of traditional telephone and telecom people. And then from there, we were. I think that the day that I think the next time the next acquisition happened was there was this like solar eclipse. I remember Bill Benson was flying to Portland. Portland was one of the good places you could see the solar eclipse at the time, and we were acquired by Converge One at that point. So we moved on to Converge One. Adam and I went over to Converge One, led the Microsoft practice there, and really kind of made a lot of traction with some of the Surface devices at the time, and expanding some of our capabilities around outside of UC, and kind of becoming more of a broad Microsoft partner at that time. So from there, about 5.5 years ago, Adam and I sort of looked around and said, you know what, I think we can probably do this whole UC thing on our own. And 5.5 years later, we're doing it. We're still here doing it. It's not nothing's easy having your own business. You have to deal with the things around the market changing and interest rates and economy. And when you're an employee, you kind of feel like you're not exposed to all of that. That's somebody else's problem. When you have your own company, you have to worry about that and paying your employees and figuring out what to do next and where Microsoft's going and how you should follow them, and maybe all the other things you have to think about. So that's kind of the longer version of the short story, I guess. But that's how Adam and I kind of ended up here at Cloud Revolution.
Yeah, and Steve, you asked about like just what does entrepreneurship look like, and I'll say this: every day is you wake up every day and it's Monday morning. Like that's probably the best way to say it is every day is Monday morning, and you have to rise to the new challenge. You have to go and look for things. You have to do things that are way outside your comfort zone. Both Chad and I come from an engineering background, and so we like to help people put things together that work. Ultimately, but for me at least, getting into the marketing side of things, like what does that look like? What does sales look like? All of that, those things, it's not always natural, but you just got to get up and do it. One of the things that I will say is that we've had the immense privilege of having a lot of support. And when I say that, that's I don't think we would be where we're at without the support of the folks that have come alongside us. I mean, yes, we've had amazing customers through this journey so far, but whether it's folks at Microsoft who have helped us out, whether it's folks like yourself over at SIPPIO, whether it's folks at other companies, other partners that we've worked with that have just stepped up time and time again to say, hey, we believe in what you're doing. It's just amazing. So I'll say that I don't think anybody succeeds truly on their own from that standpoint. I always think it takes the community and your network of people that help you get where you're at.
Yeah, it's funny. I shared a video I saw with our CEO Adam, and it was the founders, the day in the life of a founder, and it was somebody running on a treadmill, and in front of them somebody was like sprinkling Legos, and they're trying to hold a coffee at the same time, and it's just the challenge you've got to face when you're the one that is responsible for everything. To your point, all the easy problems get solved by someone else. It's the hard stuff that kind of flows up to the founders. It's an interesting you don't necessarily see it when you're an employee, but once you take that step out and build something, you realize pretty quick.
Yeah, I would say the flip side to that is that it's the hard stuff that nobody wants to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the hard stuff that's fun, the hard stuff like for our customers, our folks take care of that. I love it. Like when stuff happens with our customers, our people rise to those challenges in an instant. That's not an issue, whether that's putting almost unrealistic expectations on how fast we can move somebody from wherever they were at today to Microsoft Teams. You know, our people rise to that challenge, or to, hey, we have this interesting use case, and yeah, you're not going to do that 1,000 times. You're going to do it one time, but we got to figure it out because that's the need. Our people rise to those challenges. The hard parts that for Chad and I are the parts that nobody else wants to do, or the parts that nobody else can do, and it's the stuff that rises up to us from that. That is hard, and those are the Legos that you have to run on, as you from your analogy there. And at some point, I need to see that video, because I'd probably laugh pretty hard at that of there. But I do love the fact that when hard business problems rise up, you know, I don't have to look around, because I know our people are rising up to that challenge pretty fast.
Yeah, that's great. So both of you guys have been really involved in unified communication, specifically within the Microsoft ecosystem. I was a mock user years and years and years and years ago. So, you know, I predate that link guy in 6th grade. I was probably working, you know, it's kind of scary about how far back you can it's like a tree, right? Each naming rename is like a ring on a tree, and you can kind of go back and find the origin source of, you know, the Microsoft solution. You guys have been in it pretty much from the beginning. You know, how did that impact, you know, I think you've already touched a little bit on your journey, but I think more importantly, how does that experience help customers when you guys are working with them, and how does it kind of shape the way Cloud Revolution approaches a customer's needs, leveraging that backlog of experience, the connectivity you've got into Microsoft? To your point, you've built a network of contacts within the organization, so it gives you some visibility into what lies around the corner. How does that shape what you guys do, and what are the end customer benefits of that experience?
I think this is interesting sort of topic. I think because Microsoft, as a partner with Microsoft, you have to sort of follow their ship, and, you know, whatever they're throwing off the back, you're supposed to pick up and, you know, figure out how to make your own boat, you know, so that sort of thing. I think in the communication space, I think customers really they like the focus when you come in and say, we're a communications partner, our legacy is communications, we understand everything telecom, we understand all the regulations, requirements, the SIP trunking, all the connectivity to your PBX context, and like you start, you know, that has built us over the you know, our you know, with our experience we've had, and even back to when I did some work in the Nortel days and old telecom stuff. You know, it's customers are comforted when they hear that you're going to come in as a partner that specializes in this skill set. And you know, that we've used this many times, where we're not going to be your Dynamics partner, we're not going to be your top-notch security partner, but we can refer you to partners that we know do those things well. So I think as it comes to communications, and you're talking to a customer about replacing their phone system, which many times has a revenue generating impact, they want to have a conversation with someone, you know, or, you know, a partner that knows what they're doing and understands that language. And so it's kind of an interesting balance we have to play with. That mentality, or that knowledge set and that skill set doesn't necessarily merge directly 100% with what Microsoft's overall capabilities are when it comes to even just a modern workload. You know, there are areas that, you know, if we, you know, as we expand with Microsoft, we have to become proficient with SharePoint. You have to become proficient with Copilot. You have to become proficient with, you know, deploying Windows Desktop. I mean, so it starts being like each of those components are their own business, but you have to also balance your expertise and skill, you know, with your customer, as well as saying to Microsoft, when you put together a business plan, here's how we're going to help you impact Copilot, and here's how we're going to build offers to go to our customers to do Copilot. And so it's an interesting dynamic that we have to play there. And so, but I think to your point around, you know, that experience over the past 25 years or so is really what, you know, helps us close deals with customers from a communications perspective. You know, I know that, you know, time over time, we had not won. We had attempted back with Extra Team to win the Partner of the Year award with Microsoft and failed. We attempted it at SPS and failed. We attempted it at Converge One and failed. And here we've won it 3 times, 3 years in a row. We've been a Partner of the Year award, either of the year, the finalist, a finalist award winner, or the actual Partner of the Year. And that's because of our focus and dedication and specialist, you know, and expertise that we have with being very, very specific with our skill set. So that's really what's helped this, and I think that conversation with customers really helps give them the confidence that they're working with someone that can get the job done and really understand what they're doing without being so broad that you're an expert in nothing. So that's kind of the way that I see it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Especially that last one of when you get focused, they can trust you. I think the other thing that helps us too is by having been around, and I mean, I think the big thing here is people don't realize how much stuff is still out there. I mean, I have to give a lot of credit to the engineers from the past, just because when you walk in and you see some of the units that are still in use, whether that's from, we still run into stuff that was put into place in the early 2000s on occasion. I mean, no longer am I getting, walking in and seeing a Meridian on the wall, but, at the same point in time, a lot of these things were designed with such elegance and such robustness that they can last 10, 20, 30 years. Steve, I know you and I have chatted about these kinds of things in the past, and it's always fun to kind of reminisce about it. But at the same point in time, those same systems aren't going to have the same feature sets as a modern system, and a cloud system, and have the same sort of cloud redundancy that you can get where you're removing risk from your on-premises environment. And so having some of that background and that experience, I think, plays a big part, because there's still needs of analog in business, whether you're in a manufacturing plant, et cetera. You still have to know. You can't just be like, I know my one little slice of voice and I'll just move everything to the cloud, and I don't know what to do about your overhead paging system. I don't know what to do about your security alarms or anything else like that. We just are going to stick our head in the sand and ignore it. And I see that from other people who try to do what we do. But that's where I think our benefit is that we have been around enough to know what we need to be talking about, how it becomes a holistic system for an organization. And then the other thing is we've got the experience worldwide. So, when it gets into countries that people don't work with in every day, whether that be someplace like that has unique requirements like India or UAE or China or Japan, et cetera, there's a lot that goes into that, and you have to factor those things in.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I saw this discussion totally. Bear with me. Let me get this analogy, and I think it'll make sense as I get to it. There's this idea of we've as a society, we focus on lifespan and the the estimated age, but we don't focus on health span. How much of that time is actually like a usable time, and we should be focusing on increasing health span versus lifespan to make lives more enriching. And what you just hit on, I think, is really important, that the infrastructure that was designed, its lifespan, the stuff is just never going to die. I'm convinced that I'm going to still find some of these Avaya, multi-carrier cabinets out in the wild that have AT&T stickers on them, for Christ's sakes. But their health span, the usability, like, this is not the type of product where it's going to break and you replace it when it breaks. It's going to be one of those cases where you don't really realize that you've outlived its health span, its usability. And I think one of the biggest challenges that organizations face is they don't even really realize how much that is becoming a physical, but also a virtual anchor on their business. And how do you guys see what you do in the market? How do you help customers understand the health span? How do I see that I can take what you've got, and this is the output that you can get by going here, and then your unique sauce is I've got the experience to understand what you need to your point, right? I just didn't learn this yesterday. I'm not going to tell you that you should use a soft phone on a manufacturing floor.
Right.
Like there's paging, there's analog.
I'll say a couple things, then I'd love to have Chad's thoughts on this, because he's been doing some areas, focusing on some areas that tie really closely to this lately. One is business has changed. I think we all know that business has changed. I mean, I read a book a couple months ago, and it was written in 2014, and I was shocked at how it was a look back from 2014 to back to over the previous 20 years or so. And reading through it, I was shocked in just how business was done back then, and it's all stuff I remember, but it was like, oh wow, like you couldn't do that today. And I think business has changed as a whole, and we're much more focused on productivity as organizations. And so as we go in, we're really focused on those business use cases of what does the business need to be better, because that's what helps. If we're helping a business get better by implementing new technology, by implementing a new system, that's their benefit, right? Like that's their secret sauce. And so from my perspective, it's understanding what does that look like. And this is where I think Chad can kind of start to tap into, which is, as you start to think about the business requirements and all of that, and what does that flow look like? I think we have a real impact for businesses. So it's not just care and feeding of the big cabinets anymore. It's really about we're bringing the system more in line with what the business is doing.
I think the way I think about this is that I think a lot of businesses are trapped in some regard with how extensive that sort of traditional implementation has gone. And they're trapped from a few different factors. Think of it, this analogy, whether you agree with it or not, but reading through this has been super interesting lately. But we just found out that we can only, if we, just in general, just the whole concept, we can only retire 10,000 government employees a month because all the files are connected in manila folders in a limestone cave in the middle of North Carolina, or wherever the heck it is. And it's because in Pennsylvania. And so since 1970, they implemented this process, and they've never been able to get out of figuring out a better way to do it. So they've manually done it in a limestone cave since 1970. I think it's because it's worked and they have it written up, and every single person knows what their job is. And as it goes through this process, it always works. Is it the best way to do it? Probably not. But changing it also is extremely difficult. So it becomes easier to just leave it the way it was. And I think when you think about customers that are using technology that has been around for a long time, and they're distributed, and they have places in remote locations, and they're on farms, and they're all there's places all over the place, and they have little phone systems hanging off of this, whether it's communications or whatever it is. It becomes easier to just leave it alone because it works, versus thinking about how do I get my way out of this and implement something that's going to be much more efficient. It sort of feels like you're trapped. And I think when you have some of the people that have been administering these platforms are sort of at, they aren't they've been doing this for a long time, and they're choosing whether they are going to continue doing this, or are they 3 or 4 years from going off and just living in the sun somewhere. And that adds an additional dynamic to it, because those people, either they're not around, and because they've already left or changed careers or whatever it may be, they've done something different. They don't even have the personnel to figure out what this system is doing for you to get that information, for you then to turn around and say, let's implement something different, like a Teams phone system or a contact center or whatever it may be. And so we've needed to come up with ideas around how do we use tools to extract that information that removes the people from the process, to get that out, to then help automate that, to implement something that's much more efficient. I think that's the big holdup right now, is a lot of customers want to make these moves. They're held back by it is working, I know it works, and it'd be much easier to just leave it the way it is, versus taking that leap of faith and sort of moving forward with something different. So I think that's, sort of to your comment around the health span and the lifespan of things. I think that's kind of where people get hung up is, it's rock solid, but it's the technology has changed too, but it's also at some point slowing down or a detriment to your business. I think that there is a lot of psychological components to this around when you're trying to bring in a new workforce and you show them the technology you're using, and that's not the way that people work when they step their foot out the front door of the building, is then they have to come in and they feel like they're in some time capsule working with technology that has been around forever, that isn't the way that the world works today. So I think that this trickles up to HR and retention and employee satisfaction, and like it's not just the technology of how my communication platform works. So I think making that easier is an area that has been helping some of our customers.
Yeah, it's the outcomes. Right. I mean, it's the outcomes. People buy what this thing will actually do for you, not what it does or what it is. And I think that's one of the areas that a lot of businesses struggle with, is they look at an investment as I'm buying something I'm not buying what it's going to do for the business. And I think the fallacy of the cost of change holds a lot of this stuff back. And then to your point, you've got the embedded agendas. I'm just trying to make this thing last for 3 years and then I'm out of here. But then, you're leaving this with somebody who has never heard the words TDM or the letters TDM. And then they're going to come in here and go, wait a minute, what is this? How do I deal with this?
Right.
And it's kind of like, it's like the technology version of Indiana Jones digging into a temple to find like, whoa, well, this wiring is kind of messy.
Right.
So I'm going to ask, and maybe you guys will both have the same story. I hope maybe not. What's
I'll make one up.
There you go. So what's one project or success story that you're proud of from Cloud Revolution? Customer success story, project, maybe it's an employee. What's one that you're proud of? And like I said, hopefully we'll get 2 different answers, but maybe it's the same.
Chad, I'll let you go first because I thought of 3 different ones. So this way, if you go first, I'll have at least something different for Steve.
Yeah, I'll try to not pick the one that you're probably referring to, at least.
Go for it. I got 3. It's a good.
Yeah, I think the biggest one. So I'll take the easy one then. Is this was early on. This is actually one of our first customers, and it kind of came at a time where 2019 and 20 were really interesting. I can look back and you can see, or at least I can see the back half of 2019. And as you're coming into, I think it was January-ish, I remember sitting in the Los Angeles airport and calling my wife and saying, I don't know what the heck is going on. Everybody is coughing. People are wiping down their arms in the airport with sanitary wipes. And this is before anything was really there were like some rumblings of some things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are coughing and I'm like, what is going on? We had just had a customer back in October. It was our first customer. This is a really large customer. And they were transitioning to Teams for meetings, and then eventually they did a lot more. But they're 40,000 seats, global chip manufacturing company. And we were able to do some things that were pretty insane. At the time, we were only 2 people. Nobody really asked, and we never really told because nobody asked. So we didn't, it sounds great to us. So we win this opportunity, and we are able to enable Teams meetings for them. And this was kind of not. Nobody had the whole COVID thing like that. That wasn't that wasn't the impetus of this project. This was like, we're going to move because this was October of 2019 and the project was started and it was progressing. And just by coincidence, it was like March 17th or whatever it was.
March 13th.
March 13th. They went live. Yeah, they went live with Teams meetings and they had millions and millions of people using Teams meetings. But also that day, the CNBC, that was on CNBC, that they said they were doing all of these meetings, and that this whole COVID thing with not being able to go into the office, which was about to happen or did happen or happened earlier that week or whatever it was, and they show the stock ticker of the company right next to the guy, right? And it's like bing, 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 so it's, and they're able to continue working, but it was something that we're able to do is enable all of their users, 40,000 users, for Teams meetings and help them continue to work. And I think at that time that was really exciting for us. Is I think when you start saying, well, what's your purpose as a company? Unfortunately or fortunately, when there's a pandemic and people can't work, and like you need to be able to continue to help the not only the economy move forward, but all of these services to help them continue moving forward, so people can get them, so people can get medications, and so businesses can still process payments, and so that all of that can still happen. You finally felt like at that point you had like not that you don't have a reason to exist, but you have a really important reason to exist right now, is that you're helping these companies continue to function in a time where we could have a really big problem with people not being able to communicate. So I would say that was probably one of the highlights that I would say is pretty impactful for us.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that one. One of the other ones that came to my mind, I actually had 2 others. One was a state and local government, but this other one I'm going to use is probably just because of the fact that in the past we've always used terms and where a customer comes to us and it's like, oh, they're on whatever platform it was, and we would just say, oh, you're on legacy, right? You're on a legacy platform. And the interesting part is we get everybody's modernized for the most part. Most people, most organizations, will just say the bulk of them, because of COVID, they migrated to something. Like they had to, just to keep alive. Chad just made the great point of why this happened was because people had to. And so what we're seeing now is organizations that went one direction, especially during the pandemic, because it was easy, it was liked, whatever. I mean, there was lots of great reasons for why they made the choice at the time, have started coming back around and saying, okay, well, where should we be now? Where are we trying to utilize and see the benefit? And we just did this one in 2024, so this is really recent, but we had about 4,000 seats. They were on Zoom, and they came to us and said, hey, we're looking to move to Teams. And this was part of a cost exercise. It was part of a consolidation of tools where they were already leveraging a lot of the Microsoft tools, and it just made sense. It was a perfect example of why. And we had basically 90 days to get 4,000 people migrated off of Zoom and onto Teams, and we did it with like 2 weeks to spare. And not only that, but we also retrofitted and updated 60 conference rooms to go from Zoom rooms to Teams rooms. And it was great on that one. And the reason why I'm proud of that one is we worked with Microsoft for all the way through, and so we were able to really, as a team, our team, Microsoft, and the customer, that triangle, we were able to work really, really well together to move the entire project forward. And I actually just had a great call with the customer just a couple weeks ago, and just said, hey, just checking in. It's been about X number of days, and wanting to do a follow-up, make sure anything that's fallen out, anything that you're seeing. And they're like, we didn't get a single help desk ticket, like in regards to it. It's been quiet. Everybody's loving it. Everybody's enjoying. Like, we haven't had anybody complaining. They're like, we had lots of people complain when we made other changes and things like that. We didn't have any complaints. And so to me, like, when our team can go in and do something like that, where we're working hand in hand as a team with Microsoft and the customer to ensure that kind of success, that's what gets me up in the morning, is to see those kinds of results.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Hey, really quick, Adam, you do a lot of volunteer work. I know you're involved in an upcoming conference. You want to just give us a quick overview on SIPPIO Next?
Absolutely. And it's fun because both Cloud Revolution and SIPPIO will be there. Cloud Revolution will have people speaking. SIPPIO, you guys will be there as well, and you've got a spot that you'll be speaking at. So super excited about it. SIPPIO Next, April 15th and 16th here in Colorado, here in Denver. You can check it out, comsvnext.com. Lots of great stuff. We'll have, it is a community-driven unified communications event. And I say it like that for a reason, but it is predominantly focused on Microsoft. And so you've got folks coming in from Microsoft. You'll have speakers from the product group. You'll have speakers from the Microsoft field. You're going to have MVPs from around the world who are coming in to speak on it. But it's not just Teams, and it's not just voice. It's goes into the communication automation and artificial intelligence, so Copilot, and how does Copilot play into Teams and into the communications components. Stay tuned. We're going to announce here really soon, within the next few days, who the new keynote, this year's keynote speaker is. I'm super excited about it. Took us a little bit to get everything finalized for this person, but I'm really excited to have them at SIPPIO Next. But yeah, it's going to be fantastic. We're anticipating about 400 people, so this is not just a small event. I guess it's small in the scheme of things if you're thinking about like Ignite and 20 some odd thousand people, but this is if you are involved in unified communications, converged communications, Microsoft, from that space, this is where you should be at, because you're going to find people, Steve, I was talking to somebody else the other day about this, and what I love about it is you can literally sit down with your peers, your competitors, and the people and your partners, and have a conversation and find out and learn something new. and nobody has egos, nobody has anything like that, and so it's great to have those conversations with it. But yeah, April 15th and 16th, commsvnext.com. Would love to see people there. It will sell out, I know that. We'll hit our capacity at 400 or so people. The hotel will tell me no. You can't have more people in the building from that standpoint. There's going to be 59, I think, sessions over 2 days. And so, yeah, it'll be fantastic. If people are interested in the kinds of sessions, they can go check it out. CommsVNext has posted all the past sessions up on YouTube. So you can go see what kinds of sessions are there, but it's everything from 100 level to 400 level. So if you're an IT director or a CIO who wants to learn more and wants to understand how does this fit into my business, there's sessions for you. If you're I'm the hands-on engineer and I've got to deploy this, there's sessions for you, and we've got everything in between.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I want to thank you guys for number one, joining today. I think this has been a fun discussion, but number two, just being a great partner to us. I think this is a great relationship we've got with you guys. We really treasure having you guys as a part of our partner ecosystem. We're really happy to have you guys in the partner exchange, and look forward to seeing you guys at CommsVNext. So again, Adam, Chad, thanks for joining me today, and hope you guys have a great rest of the week and weekend.
That's great.
Appreciate it, Steve.
And
Thanks.
I sent you the video. I sent you the video in the chat.
I appreciate
so
it.
let me know what you think.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.